Polite Leader. He is the calm, creepy guy leading the masked purgers outside the Sandens' house. He wants the wounded stranger that Charlie let in, and when the family refuses to give him up, he and his gang rip the security shutters off and break into the home. James fights hard to protect everyone, but the Polite Leader eventually slips inside, stays weirdly polite, and stabs James, leaving the family scared and trapped. With James dying, the Polite Leader steps up to finish off Mary and the kids. He walks toward them like he's completely in control, certain this is the end for them. Then Zoe suddenly appears with a gun. She doesn't hesitate. She fires again and again, hitting him at close range and dropping him instantly. In just a few seconds, the smug leader who thought he owned the night is dead, and the whole siege collapses. James Sanden. After the masked purgers break into the house, James manages to take down several of them on his own. He's exhausted, bleeding, and running purely on fear and determination. When things finally quiet down for a second, James steps into a hallway, thinking maybe he has a moment to breathe. That's when the Polite Leader appears out of the shadows. There's no dramatic warning, no big speech. The leader rushes him, drives a knife straight into James's stomach, and pulls him in close as James tries to resist. The whole attack is quick, cold, and completely one-sided. James collapses, badly wounded, and Mary reaches him just in time to hold him. He tries to stay awake for her, but he can't. As he dies in her arms, the house is still crawling with danger, and the reality hits. The family's protector is gone, and they'll have to survive the rest of Purge Night without him. Diego. He's the creepy neighbor who's been eyeing Eva for a while, and on Purge Night, he finally shows his true colors. He breaks into her apartment with a shotgun, sweating and jittery, and corners Eva and her daughter. He grabs Eva by the throat, pins her against the counter, and even licks her face, a moment that makes it painfully clear what he intends to do. But before he can take it any further, everything flips on him in an instant. A heavily armed government-backed squad storms the apartment building, their boots and rifles echoing down the hallway. They burst through the door and open fire without hesitation. Diego barely has time to react before he's riddled with bullets and hits the ground dead. He thinks the night is his chance to do whatever he wants, but he ends up becoming just another victim of a bigger, colder machine, Shane and Liz's attackers. After being chased through the streets by the masked gang that sabotaged their car, Shane and Liz finally get caught and dragged into a secret auction where rich people pay to hunt human beings. It feels like the worst has already happened until the doors open and armed guards pour in. In the middle of the chaos, Shane and Liz try to run. They're darting between pillars and gunfire, doing anything to stay alive. The masked attackers who hunted them earlier are now acting as hired muscle, shooting at anyone who isn't part of the wealthy crowd. Shane fights back, trying to shield Liz, but one of the armed guards spots him and fires. The shot hits him hard, and he goes down instantly. Liz drops beside him, begging him to stay awake, but it's clear he can't. He dies right there in her arms, surrounded by gunfire and screams, not from the gang that chased them all night, but from the elite killers who bought their lives like entertainment. Big Daddy. The moment his death finally arrives in the movie, it feels like the entire story suddenly turns against him. After spending the whole night hunting Leo and wiping out anyone in his path, Big Daddy finally corners Leo outside Warren Grass's house. Leo is already bleeding from Big Daddy's shotgun blast, barely able to stay standing, and Big Daddy steps forward like he's savoring the kill. He explains that the Purge wasn't producing enough bodies, so the NFFA sent him out to balance the numbers. It's his way of bragging. He thinks he's untouchable. He raises his gun to finish Leo off, but before he can pull the trigger, a shot rings out from behind him. Big Daddy jerks forward and collapses. Warren, the man Leo spared minutes earlier, is standing in the doorway holding a smoking gun. Big Daddy dies instantly, dropped by someone he never saw coming. A moment later, the sirens sound, marking the end of the Purge and the end of his reign of terror. Auction participants. The whole rich people auction scene turns upside down the moment Carmelo and his resistance crew show up. Seconds before that, things are looking really bad for Leo, Liz, Eva, and Callie. They've just been shoved into a dark room to be hunted by the rich people who won them in the bidding. Leo manages to fight back and take down a few of the hunters, but more guards are moving in, and it feels like they're running out of time. Then the building suddenly erupts with noise, gunfire, shouting, everything happening at once. Carmelo's group blasts their way inside without warning. They move through the hall fast and aggressively. taking out the armed guards who run the place. The rich audience that was so excited a minute ago starts screaming and scrambling, completely exposed now that the resistance is in the room. Carmelo's people don't hesitate. They shoot down the remaining purgers supporting the event and wipe out the auction participants who were planning to kill the group. In just moments, the entire setup collapses, and the survivors finally have a chance to escape. TT. When the Forever Purge throws the country into chaos, everything falls apart quickly for TT and the rest of the group. After escaping the violence on the ranch, they head toward El Paso, hoping things will be safer there. But by the time they arrive, the NFFA has declared martial law, and the city is completely out of control. In the middle of the chaos, the group gets split up. Adela and Cassie are pushed away by the fighting, while TT, Juan, Dylan, and Harper end up captured by the PPF, a Purger faction taking over the streets. Their leader gives Dylan and Harper a brutal choice: kill TT and Juan or die themselves. Dylan and Harper refuse to do it. Because of that, the Purgers shoot TT right there in front of everyone. A military squad arrives moments later and disrupts the attack, but it's too late to save him. Harmon James. Inside the church where the NFFA's Purge Mass is taking place, everything is already on edge. Harmon James stands among the loyal followers, fully prepared to carry out the ritual killings. When the rescue attempt erupts into chaos, he reacts immediately. He grabs a shotgun and starts firing at the captives, showing he has no intention of backing off or escaping the fight. In the middle of the panic, Harmon spots Joe Dixon and shoots him, seriously injuring him and leaving Joe struggling to stay on his feet. But Joe doesn't let it end there. Even while injured, he fights back. As Harmon keeps firing into the room, Joe manages to get a clean shot and hits him in the torso. Harmon staggers but refuses to stop, trying to raise his gun again. Joe shoots him several more times, finally landing a headshot that drops Harmon for good. The moment is fast, messy, and intense, and it ends with Harmon going down exactly the way he lived that night. Violently. Joe Dixon. Standing up against the Purge system is never easy, and that's exactly what makes Joe Dixon's final moments so powerful. He's a neighborhood deli owner in DC who refuses to shut down his store after his Purge insurance skyrockets beyond what he can afford. Instead of giving in, he decides he'll stay and defend the place himself, even if it means facing the night head-on. As things spiral out of control, Joe ends up teaming with his employee Marcos and their friend Laney, an EMT who jumps into the chaos without blinking. What starts as protecting a deli quickly turns into helping Leo Barnes and Senator Charlie Roan survive a deadly attack. His last act comes during the church assault, where Roan is moments from execution. When an assassin aims for her, Joe steps in front of the shot without a second thought. He kills the attacker but takes a fatal hit. Before he dies, he asks Marcos to look after the deli, passing on everything he's worked for, Agent Earl Danzinger. Late in the night, Danzinger and his paramilitary squad finally track down Senator Charlie Roan and the team protecting her. Once Rowan is captured and taken to a church for a twisted Purge-style execution, Leo Barnes fights his way inside, determined to save her. That's where he comes face to face with Danzinger. The two go at each other in a brutal, messy fight. There's no fancy tactics, just fists, blades, and raw anger. They slash, swing, and crash into whatever's around them, each one refusing to back down. Even after Leo stabs Danzinger several times, the mercenary keeps trying to push himself back up, like he's running on pure rage. Eventually, Leo puts him down for good with a hard kick to the head. Danzinger drops, the fight is over, and Leo can finally push forward to save Roan before it's too late. Skeletor. The chaos of the Purge hits Staten Island hard, and one of the most unhinged people out there is the man slicing his way through the night. When the final showdown erupts inside the apartment building, Skeletor dives straight into the fight without a second thought. This time, instead of attacking civilians, he charges at the government death squad mercenaries, swinging wildly in the middle of the gunfire. Everything happens fast, bullets flying, people yelling, the whole room in motion. Skeletor keeps attacking until a burst of gunfire from the Smiley Gang hits him. He drops immediately and doesn't move again. When the shooting finally dies down and the Purge sirens start to sound, his body is left on the floor, bringing an end to the violent rampage he caused throughout the night. Caleb Tucker. Life on the Tucker family ranch is usually steady, with Caleb treating his workers fairly and making sure Juan and the others have protection when Purge Night rolls around. But when the purge doesn't end on schedule and the violence spills into the next day, everything shifts fast. The trouble hits the ranch hard. One of Caleb's own workers, Kirk, suddenly turns on him and brings a group of purgers to take over the property. Caleb isn't intimidated. He stands his ground, faces Kirk head on, and tells him off without hesitation. That's the moment everything snaps. Kirk raises his gun and shoots Caleb in the forehead, killing him instantly. It's a quick, brutal betrayal that shows just how fast loyalty disappears once the forever purge takes control. But what if the threat wasn't your neighbors or your friends, but something far older, far darker, something that doesn't wait for Purge Night to hunt someone like Pennywise, in all his terrifying forms? Watch now. Every form, Pennywise takes explained. I'll see you there.